Hi, John.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm here to talk wood stoves.
Great, come on in.
Thanks. Oh, that's a nice looking installation.
Thanks, we enjoy it.
Can you describe it to me?
This is a medium-sized EPA certified non-catalytic stove connected to double-wall flue pipe running up into a high-temp factory-built metal chimney.
Whoa, that's a mouthful. Can you go through that again one step at a time? What does EPA certification mean?
It refers to a regulation put in place by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency back in the late 1980s, requiring all wood stoves to meet stringent smoke emissions limits. To be certified, a stove must put out less than 7.5 grams of smoke per hour. This one is certified at 3.2 grams per hour. On average, EPA-certified stoves emit around 90% less smoke than older, conventional, so-called airtight stoves.
You also said something about catalytic.
Yes, this is a non-catalytic stove, which uses firebox insulation, internal baffling, and preheated combustion air distributed around the firebox to burn the wood completely. Catalytic stoves pass the wood smoke through a catalyst-coated ceramic honeycomb where it burns cleanly.
I see. So whether the stove is catalytic or non-catalytic, it burns the smoke inside instead of letting it go up the chimney. It's nice that these stoves don't pollute the neighborhood, but are there other advantages?
Oh, sure. These things use about 1/3 less wood for the same heat output than older stoves. That's a lot less cutting, splitting, stacking, and hauling. Plus, they're a lot easier to use. You'll see what I mean when we get a fire started.
That's just what I came for. I was hoping you'd give me some tips on how to operate a stove and get the best performance out of it.
You bet. Let's pull up a couple of chairs and get organized.
I see you have a full wood box and some newspaper and kindling all ready to go.
Right, I'll get to that in a minute, but first I'd like to remove some of the ash from the last fire that we had so that it doesn't get in the road of the new fire that we're about to build. This stove has an ash pan, but you can also use a shovel and ash bucket. Notice this tool I'm using? It's a rake, and it's the most important tool for managing heating fires. I've just used it to rake the ashes into the ash pan, but I'll show you later why it is so important. Okay, now we're ready to build a fire. The main goal in starting a fire from scratch is to heat the stove and chimney fast, creating the conditions for a clean, efficient burn. The thing to avoid is having your kindling fire collapse on itself, which slows everything down and makes a lot of smoke.
Does that mean there's only one right way to build a fire?
No, not at all. Everyone who burns wood develops their own method through trial and error. For example, one way to build a fire that heats fast and doesn't collapse is by using 2 parallel logs with a space between them, like this. Then you crumple some newspaper between them and some kindling on top. That method works fine when the logs are placed north-south, like this. But if your firebox is east-west, it's not so good.
So what do you suggest then?
I like to build top-down fires.
Top-down? Really?
Sure. Here, take this newspaper and roll up some single sheets corner to corner into tubes. Then tie a knot in each tube.
You've got to be kidding.
Just do it. You'll see what I mean. While you're doing that, I'll put some large kindling in the firebox first, then small kindling on top. This kindling is nice, dry poplar which splits up easily and burns fast. Now, 4 or 5 newspaper knots go on top, like this. These knots work great because they don't move around as they burn the way crumpled newspaper does. Time to light the newspaper.
But I thought you had to light a fire from the bottom because hot air and flames rise.
They do, but that's not really what gets fires to start. It's the heat radiation off the glowing bits of newspaper and kindling that actually ignites fires, and radiation flows in all directions, including down. I'll set the air control fully open and close the door.
And why do you build fires top-down?
Well, as I said, they don't collapse and smother themselves. Also, I don't have to keep opening the loading door to tend the fire and add more kindling like you do with a regular fire. This fire should be good for 2 hours or so without attention. And top-down fires start up with very little smoke. Want to see?
Sure.
Come on outside. We'll see if there's any smoke coming from the chimney. See? No smoke.
Wow, and you just lit that fire a few minutes ago.
That's why I like building top-down fires.
I'm impressed.
Let's head back inside.
Great, and I want to see how that top-down fire is burning. That's just amazing.
If you build it right, a top-down fire will burn consistently like that every time. How about we go have some lunch while that fire burns down? Then I'll show you how to rekindle a fire from coals.
Okay.